Currently, I am working on my eighth one. When people find that out about me, they always ask me, how do you do that? What's your secret? And to be honest, for many years my answer would be, I don't know. I simply love learning languages, but people were never happy with that answer. And they wanted to know why they are spending years trying to learn even one language, never achieving fluency, and here I come, learning one language after another. They wanted to know the secret of polyglots, people who speak a lot of languages, and that made me wonder too, how do other polyglots actually do it? What do we have in common? And what is it that enables us to learn languages so much faster than other people? I decided to meet other people like me and find that out. The best place to meet a lot of polyglots is an event where hundreds of language lovers meet in one place to practice their languages. There are several such polyglots events organized all around the world, and so I decided to go there and ask polyglots about the methods that they use. And so I met Benny from Ireland, who told me that his method is to start speaking from one day. He learns a few phrases from a travel phrases book and goes to meet native speakers, starting conversations with them right away. He doesn't mind making even 200 mistakes a day because that's how he learns based on the feedback. And the best thing is, he doesn't even need to travel a lot today because you can easily have conversations with native speakers from the comfort of your living room using websites. I also met Locus from Brazil who had a really interesting method to learn Russian. He simply added 100 random Russian speakers on Spike as friends. Then he opened a chat window with one of them and wrote "Hi" in Russian. The person replied, "Hi, how are you?" Lucas copied this and put it into a text window with another person. The person replied, "I am fine, thank you. And how are you?" Lucas copied this back to the first person, and in this way, he had two strangers have a conversation with each other without knowing each other. So soon he started typing himself because he had so many of these conversations that he figured out how Russian conversations usually start. What an ingenious method, right? And then I meet polyglots who always start by imitating the sounds of the language, others who always learn the 500 most frequent words of the language, and yet others who always start by reading about the grammar. If I asked 100 people polyglots, I heard 100 different approaches to learn languages. Everybody seems to have a unique way they learn a language, and yet we all come to the same result of speaking several languages fluency. And as I was listening to these polyglots telling me about their methods, it suddenly dawned on me. The one thing we all have in common is that we simply found ways to enjoy the language learning process. All of these polyglots were talking about language learning as if it was great fun. You should have seen their faces when they were showing me their colorful grammar, their carefully handmade flashcards, their statistics about learning vocabulary using apps, or even how they love to cook based on recipes in foreign languages. All of them use different methods. What they always make sure it's something that they personally enjoy. I realized that this is actually how I learn languages myself. When I was learning Spanish, I was bored with the text in the textbook. I mean, who want to read about those asking about the direction to train station, right? I wanted to read Harry Potter instead because that was my favorite book as a child, and I have read it many times. So I got that Spanish translation of Harry Potter and started reading, and sure enough, I didn't understand almost anything at the beginning, but I kept on reading because I loved the book. By the end of the book, I was able to follow it almost without any problems. The same thing happened when I was learning German. I decided to watch Friends, my favorite sitcom in German. Again, at the beginning, I was all just gibberish. I didn't know where one word finished and another one started, but I kept on watching every day because it's Friends. I can watch it in any language. I love it so much. After the second or third season, seriously, the dialogue started to make sense. I only realized this after meeting other polyglots. We are no geniuses and we have no shortcut to learning languages. We simply found ways to enjoy the process, to turn language learning from a boring school subject into a pleasant activity that you don't mind doing every day. If you don't like writing words down on paper, you can always type them in an app. If you don't like listening to boring textbook material, find interesting content on YouTube or in podcast for any language. If you are a more introverted person and you can't imagine speaking to native speakers right away, you can apply the method of self-talk. You can talk to yourself in the comfort of your room, describing your plans for the weekend, how your days has been, or even take a random picture from your phone and describe the picture to your imaginary friend. This is how polyglots learn languages, and the best news is it's available to anyone who is willing to take the learning into their own hands. Meeting other polyglots helped me realize that it is really crucial to find enjoyment in the process of learning languages, but also that joy in itself is not enough. If you want to achieve fluency in a foreign language, you will be also need to apply three more principles. First of all, you will need effective methods. If you try to memorize a list of words for a test tomorrow, the words will be stored in your short-term memory and you will forget them after a few days. If you, however, want to keep words long-term, you need to revise them in the course of a few days repeatedly using the so-called spaced repetition. You can use apps which are based on this system, such as Anki and Memrise, or you can write lists of words in a notebook using the gold list method, which is also very popular with many polyglots. If you are not sure which methods are effective and what is available out there, just check out polyglots YouTube channels and websites and get inspirations from them. If it works for them, it will most probably work for you too. The third principle to follow is to create a system in your learning. We are all very busy and no one really has time to learn a language today. What we can create that time if we just plan a bit ahead. Can you wake up 15 minutes earlier than you normally do? That would be the perfect time to revise some vocabulary. Can you listen to a podcast on your way to work while driving? Well, that would be great to get some listening experience. There are so many things we can do without even planning that extra time, such as listening to podcasts on our way to work or during our household chores. The important thing is to create a plan in the learning. I will practice speaking every Tuesday and Thursday with a friend for 20 minutes. I will listen to a YouTube video while having breakfast. If you create a system in your learning, you don't need to find that extra time because it will become a part of your everyday life. And finally, if you want to learn a language fluency, you need also a bit of patience. It's not possible to learn a language within 2 months. What it's definitely possible to make a visible improvement in 2 months if you learn in small chunks every day in a way that you enjoy, and there is nothing that motivates us more than our own success. I vividly remember the moment when I understood the first joke in German when watching Friends. I was so happy and motivated that I just kept on watching that day for 2 hour episodes, and as I kept watching, I had more and more of those moments of understanding these title victories, and step by step I got to a level where I could use the language freely and fluency to express anything. This is a wonderful feeling. I can't get enjoy of that feeling, and that's why I learn a language every 2 years. So this is the whole polyglot secret. Find effective methods which you can use systematically over the period of some time in a way which you enjoy. And this is how polyglots learn languages within months, not years. Now some of you may be thinking that's all very nice to enjoy language learning, but instead it's the real secret that you polyglots are just super talented and most of us aren't. Well, there's one thing is haven't told you about Benny and Lucas. Benny had 11 years of Irish Gaelic and 5 years of German. He couldn't speak them at all when graduating, but to the years of 21 he thought he didn't have the language gene and he could not speak another language. Then he started to look for his a way of learning languages. Biz was learning to native speakers and getting feedback from them, and today when he can easily have a conversation in 10 languages. Lucas tried to learn English at school for 10 years. He was one of the worst students in class. His friends even made fun of him and gave him a Russian textbook as a joke because they thought he would never learn that language or any language. And then Lucas started to experiment with methods, looking for his own way to learn. For example, by having Skype that chat conversation stranger, and after just 10 years Lucas is able to learn 11 languages fluently. Does that sound like a miracle? Well, I see such miracles every single day. As a language mentor, I help people learn languages by themselves. And I see this every day. People struggle with language learning for 5, 10, and even 20 years, and then they suddenly take their learning into their own hands. Start using materials which they enjoy more effectively method, or they start tracking their learning so that they